Hi, this is part two of stupid things you shouldn't do. Well, I don't know if you'll think this is stupid, but when I was in the military, uh, I had all the usual jobs like dig a hole and fill it up, police the area, which means pick up cigarettes for all day, peel potatoes. Okay, so I was looking for a way out, something, that I could do that was a little bit more fun. And I heard that there was an MOS, military occupational specialty, that was the most dangerous in the entire army. But here's the rub: it wasn't dangerous if there wasn't a war going on, okay? Well, not too dangerous. Let me tell you about it. The MOS was a machine gun placement spotter. You were issued a canvas covered plane. I don't know if they still make it, probably not. It was called a Piper Cub. Didn't have a steering wheel, it had a stick. It was quite easy to fly. And the job, the MOS, Military Occupational Specialty, of the spotter, was to have these flares, yellow and green. They meant different things. And you would fly over the enemy territory, and you would look for machine gun emplacements. You could usually tell because they were noisy and they had a lot of flashes coming out of them. And you didn't have to light a match or anything. You just pull, and then the thing starts smoking. You throw it to hit the machine gun nest, and you flew very low. Okay. Well, then the machine gun nest was marked, and it would have, depending on what you were identifying, there were different colors. I'm not going to go into that. But once the smoke began to come out right from the machine gun nest, the artillery, which was a long way away, would blast it and put an end to it. Well, as you can imagine, in a real war, uh, the artillery spotters were not the most popular guys flying immediately overhead. And the average life of an artillery spotter was 3 days. And that's why they gave him such a cheap plane. Well, I had a wonderful time flying over Mexico and landing wherever I felt like it and not doing any bad chores. And my days as a artillery spotter and pilot. By the way, usually you had to be a commissioned officer, but I was the lowest of the low because I didn't want to serve a long period of time. I was in those days, you were allowed to enlist for 6 months. Then you were in the reserve for a while, well, actually a few years. But it was the shortest period of active duty if you had the MOS of an artillery spotter. Okay, so don't join the army and don't do what I do, especially if there's a war on, because I wouldn't be here 65 or 70 years later giving this talk. Okay. Uh, okay, now here, come on, let's get a little more serious. Consumer debt. The great Benjamin Franklin, one of my heroes, said, I would rather go to bed hungry than wake up owing money for my last night dinner. So the moral of the story is do not ever take out consumer debt. Sure, it's all right to borrow money that for a business that you think is going to be pretty successful and enable you to pay it back, or perhaps an income property, either a garage or a warehouse or even a rental property. But if you borrow money on a mortgage for that, that's fine. You should be able to pay it back out of the rents. And if 25 years go by and the mortgage is fully paid, hey, you'll be a rich person. And I had very good success with income property. Now, there's a lot of talk lately. People say going to college is worthless. Hey, it is not worthless. What causes people problems is if they have a lot of student debt. Now, in my case, it wasn't so easy to borrow money 60 years ago. You could, And if you graduated with a lot of debt, it was quite unpleasant. You had to pay it back, or else file bankruptcy, which wasn't any fun. But in any event, um, in my opinion, if you don't accumulate any debt, and if you take professional courses like to be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, construction, anything that leads to a high paying job. These days, it might be computer science with a major in artificial intelligence. Okay, if you take those courses, first of all, you meet a lot of people in the industry you are going to go into, not only your fellow students, but the professors. And so the contacts you make and the training you get is wonderful. And people who say you shouldn't go to college, well, I think they're wrong. Sure, people like Bill Gates dropped out of college. I'm not sure if Zuckerberg did, but in any event, sure, 1 in a million can drop out of college and be a billionaire. But generally speaking, college training in a profession where you're not necessarily employed by someone else is a good idea if you don't accumulate a lot of debt. Now, in my day, as well as today, if you study 19th century feminist literature or ethnic studies, you won't get a job. And if you study religion, you'll get a job, but it's only if you feel the need, the direction from God, that I would recommend becoming a priest or a pastor or a marabout, whatever religion may be. I don't think that's a great career path, but for those who feel the calling, okay. But nothing wrong with going to college. So I would take issue with those who say it's worthless. Okay. Jobs in general. When looking for your first job, well, it's not easy to get a job. So if you can possibly be an entrepreneur, that's a person who finds a need and fills it. It doesn't matter what you do. If you go fishing and sell the fish, it doesn't matter. Anything that you can do that makes you self-employed is a great idea. But if you get a job, try to get a job that isn't a dead-end job. Now, even flipping burgers at McDonald's doesn't have to be a dead-end job. You can, if you do a very good job, you may be the manager in a year or two of the installation, and you may be a regional manager after that, and you may be a CEO after that if you're good, if you're smart, and if you're diligent. Diligent is the key word. But whatever you do, don't get a dead-end job. If you have a dead-end job that isn't leading you anywhere to make more money or get an advancement, then start looking for another job and then maybe in another field. Okay, another big mistake, extreme sports. Huh. You know what they are. I don't have to tell you. Anything that is really dangerous, like skydiving, there's a substantial risk you'll hurt yourself. And even speed skiing. Or I have a friend who is a race car driver, and he had a crash and burned himself, not to death, but it was very uncomfortable. A lot of burns, and he don't look so good anymore. So stay away from extreme sport. What does it prove? Nothing. Now I knew a fella who took what was that drug? That gives you muscles and all that.
Steroids.
What?
Steroids.
Okay, it was a guy who took steroids, and he said, "Hey, I take steroids. I know it'll kill me probably before I'm 30." He said, "But if I can win an Olympic medal, I'm willing to die before I'm 30." I said, "Well, I think that's a stupid thing because I'm going to live a long time. By that time, I'd already lived to 70. Now I'm 87. But what's so important about a medal? Nah, I would say stay away from extreme sports and don't take any drugs or do anything that will end your life early. Now, the final thought is today there's been a lot of talk about an assassination and a chap who was arrested because he didn't like the political speech of a fella who said, among other things, that just because someone says they're a woman doesn't they're not a woman if they have a penis. Well, I don't know, that seemed to be pretty common sense. Not enough reason to shoot somebody, okay? So, final lesson is don't go nuts. Don't become a fanatic over something like politics. You don't like Donald Trump? Okay, he's just a politician. His term ends in a few years. It's only 4 years to begin with. He'll be replaced by somebody better or worse. What's the difference? As long as politics doesn't affect you, don't worry too much about it. Don't get upset, and certainly don't beat up someone or kill somebody or engage in hate speech or burn property down or just don't be upset. Don't stress out. Uh, so I think that ends my talk for today. But don't shut me off yet. Uh, Remember that your morality or your ideas not only don't have to be accepted by everybody else, but there's not even a chance that they'll be accepted by everybody else. I know a lot of religious people, and their whole goal in life is to convert the world to their religion and their way of belief. I would say my PT theory is look after yourself, look after your family, don't do stupid stuff, and don't worry, don't believe the gloom and doom, and you'll be okay. And I hope you watch this thing all the way to the end and you'll give it a little vote, upvote, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, I hope you liked this video. It took a lot of work to put it together, so I want you to like it, subscribe, tell your friends about it, share, and comment. I love your comments, and I'll answer every single one of them. And beside that, I'll see you tomorrow because I'm going to have another exciting video for you. Boy, is it going to be good.